Hi everyone, welcome to Ankara News. I'm Josh, this is ER. We're going to tell you about the decline in tourism in Turkey. In previous years, tourism has been 10% of the country's GDP, but due to terrorism and political instability, Turkey has become a much less desirable vacation destination, and as such, its economy has been negatively affected.
Tourism in Turkey declined 40% from 2016 to 2015, partially due to terrorist attacks. One of the most infamous attacks came in June 2016 when 3 suicide attackers killed 45 people and wounded a dozen more at Istanbul's main airport. But there are a variety of lesser-known attacks that have taken place in the past year, which Josh will now tell you about.
Thank you, ER. As you said, there have been a number of terrorist attacks in Turkey over the past year, starting the one on October 10, 2015, when suicide bombers hit a lunchtime peace rally in Ankara, killing about 100 people. On January 12, 2016, a suicide bomber blew himself up and killed 10 tourists, all foreigners, in an attack on Istanbul's Central Historic District. February 17, 2016, a blast in Ankara hit a convoy of buses filled with soldiers at a traffic light, killing 28 and wounding more than 60 others. March 13, 2016, a car rigged with explosive blew up in a public square in Ankara, killing more than 30. March 19, 2016, a suicide bomber struck a main avenue in Istanbul, killing at least 4, including 2 Americans. June 7, 2016, a car bomb destroyed a police vehicle near an Istanbul tourist district, killing 11 people and wounding dozens more. June 28, 2016, 3 suicide attackers killed 45 people and wounded dozens more at Istanbul's main airport. December 10, 2016, a double bombing in Istanbul outside a soccer stadium killed at least 38 people and wounded another 136. December 19, 2016, Russia's ambassador to Turkey was assassinated at an Ankara art exhibit, which almost sparked an international incident.
There are a variety of reasons why terrorism has become such a prevalent problem in Turkey. One particular reason has to do with the Syrian civil war. In 2011, Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan called for the Syrian president Assad to step down. This led to a violent civil war. Turkey shares a 500-mile border with Syria, and thus there has been a significant spillover of Syrians into the country, and many are entering with the intention of harm. There's an estimated 2.5 million Syrians living in Turkey. ISIS has also become a major threat to Turkey. ISIS was responsible for the disastrous attack on the Ataturk airport in 2016, which resulted in the deaths of 45 people and the injuring of 235 more. The recent insurgency of the Kurdish has also caused a great deal of pressure on Turkey. The Turkish government claims that Kurdish militants fighting ISIS are part of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, otherwise known as the PKK. The PKK has been fighting for Kurdish freedom since the early 1970s. Turkey engaging in conflict with the Kurdish rebels labels Turkey, at least in the eyes of the Kurds, on the side of ISIS in this particular matter. Lastly, geopolitics play a role in the recent developments of terrorism in Turkey. Just days before the attack at Ataturk, Turkey stated that it would normalize diplomatic ties with Israel. In other words, Israel and Turkey, for the first time since 2010, would reestablish a diplomatic relationship with each other. Many believe this is the reason why ISIS attacked the airport. It was an expression of their disapproval.
As you can imagine, terrorism and instability has had a negative impact on Turkey's economic and political stratosphere. Spillover from Syria and clashes with Kurdish separatists have caused the country a myriad of problems. Since 2011, over 1,500 people have been killed in Turkey by terrorist attacks. The terrorist attack in June 2016, which targeted the airport in Istanbul, was a major reason for the 40% decline in tourism from 2015 to 2016. The industry once generated $31.5 billion and was a powerful driver for the country's economy. In July 2016, a coup d'etat was attempted in Turkey by a faction of the Turkish armed forces that organized themselves as the Peace at Home Council. This was also a factor in the drop in tourism and added to the instability of the country. As the terrorist attacks continue, President Erdogan has slowly been taking control of the country. First, by extending the state of emergency in October, which was declared after the failed July coup. Since then, Turkish authorities have seized more than 500 companies with assets valued at more than $10 billion. In a razor-close referendum vote on April 16th, the Turks gave Erdogan considerable new powers while leaving him subject to few, if any, meaningful checks and balances. Thank you for watching.
Hope you enjoyed. See you guys.